is making this a national brand, giving people a wider variety of really good tasting, clean, delicious, gluten-free foods to choose from.
Nicole B, the Chief Pretty Chick in charge at shopprettypieces.com.
Hey, this is Rolando with Global Tech Worldwide.
Hey, this is Daniel Lederstein with Big Eye.
And you are listening to...
And you're watching...
And you're listening to the Ecomm Show.
Welcome to the Ecomm Show, presented by BlueTuskr. The #1 place to hear the inside scoop from other e-commerce experts, where they share their secrets on how they scaled their business and are now living the dream. Now, here is your host, Andrew Maff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Ecomm Show. I'm your host, Andrew Maff, and today I'm here with Jennifer and Mike Weesey of BeeFree. Jen, Mike, how you guys doing? You ready for a good show?
Great.
Looking
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Perfect. So let's do the usual. I will pretend that no one knows anything about you two, and we would love to hear a bit of a background about yourselves and BeeFree, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll get us started.
Sure.
So Mike and I are husband and wife. We've been married for almost 30 years now. We have 4 adult sons, and it's been a pretty wild ride, but our oldest son is on the autism spectrum, and that introduced us to a gluten-free way of life. And we were just looking back in 2008, we're looking for ways that we could come alongside of him and support him and give him really just the best chance at life. And we landed on gluten-free food specifically because we felt it was something we could get our hands around. It was understandable. It didn't seem too foreign, unlike some of the other things that were being talked about back then. And so that kind of catapulted us into learning, what does gluten-free look like? What is that? What even is gluten-free? So different from today, when gluten-free is on menus at restaurants and in grocery stores, marked very visibly. But in 2008, it was a lot different. So we've come a long way, but that was our introduction into gluten-free. And what we found was there weren't a lot of really great choices out there. We might have found a gluten-free cookie in a package on the grocery store shelf that said gluten-free cookie, but it tasted like cardboard. And it had a lot of artificial ingredients and stabilizers and other things we just really weren't interested in feeding our family. So we got busy in the kitchen and started recreating our own favorite family recipes and came up with some food that tasted really good. It wasn't easy, though. It took a lot of years really to get it just right. And when I say years, it literally took years to get recipes just right so that no one could tell there was anything different about it. It just was good, delicious, tasty food. So in 2010, I made it a business, kind of a one-girl show, although I had, my family and lots of people supporting me all around. But I made it a business in 2010. Michael came on board in 2014 because he saw that I had something that could be scalable and that could be put on trucks and shipped all over the country. And that's what we've been focusing on since 2014, is making this a national brand, giving people a wider variety of really good tasting, clean, delicious, gluten-free foods to choose from. Did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, you covered it. It's like, 2014 is when I jumped on board, and she had lots of success with people, at farmers markets and local. And we decided that if we're going to put this kind of effort into it and we really want to offer really good food to as many people as possible, then we're going to have to expand it. And it was not a lot of options back then. So, to get it into some of the larger chains was the goal.
And you started off going retail or online?
Retail.
We did this thing completely backwards.
Yeah.
So where a lot of people, it's easiest to onboard on, through E-Comm. We went through brick and mortar, and we started brick and mortar. We started brick and mortar actually at Kroger in the Central Division, right in our home state of Indiana.
So you started on the retail side, you pivoted into E-Comm. What caused the pivot? Or I assume you're both now? Retail
we are
and
both.
E-Comm? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
What made you start going direct to consumer?
That was a direct result of COVID. We knew that it was a area that we knew there was a lot of opportunity and growth potential for us that we needed to focus on. But due to COVID, it pushed us in that direction much quicker. We were definitely behind, when all the retail stores shut down, or you weren't able to purchase items that weren't deemed essential items. Though, our product wasn't really even being stocked on the shelf. Grocery workers were focusing on bread, milk, medicine, toilet paper. Those were the essential items. So it definitely bumped us into putting that Ecomm into high gear. And Michael can talk a little bit more about that.
Right. Yeah. No, we were Ecomm prior to that, but just, trying to get your product listed with Amazon was a whole learning curve for us. And, we're trying to launch in small group. There's only 5 of us in our company. And then, trying to concentrate on just one person's job could be Amazon, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And just trying to learn how to work that program effectively. And then our own website was a big one. And then once COVID hit, Kroger and Kroger.com and Target.com, both, they jumped on the same that way we did, because their whole business went immediately Ecomm. And so they're like, oh my God, we've had 5 years of change in, 3 months, and BeeFree was right along beside them trying to figure it out in 3 months.
Yeah. So you were Ecomm prior, you just weren't really focusing on it. And then you took a real big focus on it, right?
Yes,
less than 5% of our sales. Now it's, 30% and growing.
Oh, wow. So what were some of the first steps you took when you realized, like, all right, we need to focus online?
We found we went out and looked for companies that specialized in Amazon, so that we could shorten that learning curve. We had tried for years, quite frankly, prior to COVID, to just figure out Amazon, just kept pushing it back. And we found a couple of companies that were able to guide us and show us the things that we were lacking. We did about 95 of things right, but those 5% of the things we didn't do were making a huge difference in people coming to look at our product or getting in front of them so that we could get some clicks. And so with those changes, and a lot of it was just advertising and cleaning up, and then knowing how to structure photos and how to do the search words behind everything that they're posting that we really weren't aware of, or, didn't concentrate on or focus on.
Yeah. So your main focus was Amazon first before you went to your own site?
Both sites grew at the same time. So I think a lot of our, efforts through Amazon brought awareness to us, even on our own website. So that was kind of a surprise. As much as we started to advertise on Amazon, it also lifted our own personal website.
Yeah. Well, fluid shopping, very typical. I see that a lot with consumables. And one thing I know about consumables that I've always seen has been the biggest difficulty when it's first starting off is when you go online and people haven't heard from you before. You get a lot of people who are like, they don't really want to be the first ones to ingest something. They kind of want reviews. They want to know what other people think. And that's always very difficult when you're first starting off. How did you kind of get over that hurdle of, getting people to purchase something that they may not have heard of before?
There's a social media tie in there as well, too. So we have Katie on our team that really focuses on building our awareness via social media, and just, making a lot of partnerships and a lot of connections with like-minded brands and influencers. That really has made a huge difference.
Okay. So you've gone the influencer strategy, which is usually the right way to go on the consumable side. How has that strategy gone? Like, are you catering to like micro influencers? Are you doing macro influencers? Which profiles are you using? How's that whole thing going?
We've had really great success with micro influencers, and especially in our type of a product. And, our product touches a lot of different demographics and a lot of different groups. So, when you're talking about moms with a child that has any kind of special needs or a special dietary need, they're a pretty tight-knit community. And those people, when they find something they like, they tell it. And they want to share it with everybody. So that's been really impactful for us, is just getting connected with those groups and those influencers out there that, help tell our story. And then it's a tumbleweed effect.
Oh, yeah. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter. All of them?
All of it.
Oh, you're doing all of them.
TikTok is our new one, and it's been a lot of fun. Actually, it's kind of like the old days with the other social media sites. TikTok, you could actually get some traction, and it's fun to post on there. It's been trying to see what people want to see, what they want to consume on there, and then trying to shorten it down for us. It's been successful. So Jennifer's really put a lot of effort into that.
It's a team effort for sure. Instagram really is where the bulk of our focus is. It really just seems like that's a big segment of, where our tribe kind of hangs out. But I really do see a lot of promise for TikTok as well. So
yeah. Are you doing anything on on a paid advertising side besides, obviously you mentioned Amazon, but with social media?
Not yes. Go ahead. You got that one.
Go ahead.
Well, so we are on Facebook and Instagram, but we are not. Obviously, TikTok is just starting to get into that, but we've been able to build our numbers up quickly. Obviously, they're going to start that at some point and be aggressive about it. So now it's just how do we structure our content? Our biggest success in the past is always demoing the product, putting our product in somebody's hands. Well, the electronic version of that is influencer. Does somebody trust? And micro influencers, people seem to have more of a trust in a major influencer, and then the other part of that's just budget. Sometimes we just can't afford to afford what the larger ones want.
Well, and also a lot of times they love our product and they love our story so much that often these influencers they're just kind-hearted, and they just will do a giveaway, or they'll do a post or a story for a couple bags of Warrior Mix, and so that has served us really well.
Nice. Mike, you'd mentioned budget, which always strikes a very interesting question. There's only a handful of sellers I know who have gone, as you put it, like the opposite way, where they were retail first and then they went into e-commerce. And the budget's always a very interesting question, because you're making good money on the retail side. You're trying to figure out how much you're willing to invest into trying the e-commerce side in the beginning, because you don't really know if it's going to work out or not. How did you come up with what you were willing to invest into the direct-to-consumer side, knowing that at the time, wholesale and all your retail were just starting to fall?
We kind of started out at 10 to 15% of our, budget of what we're going to sell. And then we thought, that's going to take the lion's share is to, obviously it's always more expensive to get a new customer than to maintain a current customer. Yeah. So then that's how we started. And then we actually backed up that number. We found that we were much more efficient. We could really, as opposed to the old newspaper, you could actually measure who's clicking through and who's taking the eyeballs and where their eyeballs are. And so it's wonderful coming from that world a long time ago. And so then we could be much more efficient with our spend. And then hiring an outside consulting company too has helped us be more efficient with our spend also. So even though we spent money with them, we actually saved money.
Wow. And so you mentioned you have 5 people internally, correct?
Correct.
What are their roles?
So we have a CFO, we have a chief marketing officer, we have an administrative assistant, and Michael and I. Nice. I pretty much primarily wear the sales hat of the company, and Michael is, really great at all the logistics, the procurement, and that's kind of how we've divided our roles.
So, Michael, I'm betting your hands have been very full for the past year or so.
Oh yeah, I'm learning all kinds of things, and it's I like to do that. I think it's amazing how fast things are moving. For retail, especially with COVID, you really had to be on it, and you either had to love learning this new systems or, adapting, or, you just crawled out of the business. And, it's been a tough road for the last 2 years for everybody. Yeah. But, one nice thing is when you're stuck in your house, you got a lot of time to study. You got a lot of time to do research. You got a lot of people that are willing to take your phone call because they're sitting at home doing nothing. And they're, hey, let's talk about how do we do e-comm. And it was an amazing period of time. And so we really have been blessed to have the avenues and the doors open that we have.
Are you outsourcing anything at all overseas, or is everything here in the States?
Everything's in the States. We have used, an overseas
Virtual assistant.
Virtual assistant in the past. It was a great experience. But there's nothing like just having, somebody within driving distance, at least to see face to face a couple times a month. Yeah. There's still something to be said for that. So we're trying to keep it in, within our state or within the United States.
But all aspects of the product are here in the States. So you really haven't had too much of an issue with supply chain right now?
We have supply chain issues. And, some of it's just getting things moved across the country. And then we have, our sunflower seeds is a big part of what we do, and that comes out of Ukraine. So that's an issue right now. Pumpkin seeds come out of Mexico. So it's been, it's anything. It seems like every product now is a worldwide product. There's pieces and parts coming from everywhere. And then our almonds come right out of California, but just getting something moved from west to east coast has been a challenge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our production facility is in Indiana, or not Indiana, it's in the Midwest. So, we really are focused on sourcing ingredients and our, supplies as close to home as possible. That's always been a focus of ours. So, U.S. Made and grown is always our first. That's our first choice. We try to keep it close to home, and our production facility. Actually, we're expanding our production facility to an additional smaller location here in our little town of Noblesville, Indiana, right just north of the state capital of Indianapolis. And that facility, we're going to be able to employ more people with autism, and we'll do special projects and special.
Special products.
Projects and additional brands and products that we're going to be bringing to market, like a hot cocoa mix and some granola bars and some other kind of fun things. So
nice. So it's obviously a bit of a double-edged sword right now, because I know a lot of sellers. It's great when almost everything is done here in the States because you didn't have to deal with the supply chain issue. But now we're dealing with an inflationary period. So it's kind of like everything here in the States is incredibly expensive. So how have you been juggling, keeping your costs at a semi-decent level without, it getting out of hand?
So higher production levels. So you produce more at one time. We use a contract manufacturer. So you raise the amount you generate. And then I provide all the raw ingredients to this contract manufacturer. So I constantly resource. So it's just building that book of business where I can find out who has what, and a lot of it's stuff that's in stock. I've found them all over the country, and a lot of, like I said, a few of our items are imported. Yeah, but it's a constant struggle. I think that's for everybody. If you're pulling, it's just one of those things you have to work on continually.
Yeah. So with an increase in manufacturing, you obviously are going to increase your inventory. Do you have a shelf life on the product that you're worried about at all?
It's rated for a year from manufacturer, but it'll actually is good for 18 months. But we try to keep everything within about a 4-month window. We like the vendor to be out of it within 4 months, so that the consumer gets the best version of our product.
Perfect. The company name BeeFree, it's BEE, 2 E's, so like a bumblebee, right? So is there what's in it that is, kind of catered to coming up with that name? So
BeeFree is a play on words. So be free to eat delicious gluten-free foods. Be free to make good, healthy choices that taste delicious. So that's really where it stemmed from. We do use honey as a sweetener in our product, which is a clean, non-refined sweetener source. So it can be a point of confusion a little bit, but definitely more questions. And we like to take that as an opportunity to, do some storytelling and tell a little bit more about our brand.
Nice. You mentioned you're getting into hot cocoa, right?
Yes.
Anything else coming down the line?
We have a nut bar, an oat bar. So one of our bigger requests is portion control. Mm-hmm. And so we're taking another clean version. So when we say clean, it doesn't have preservatives. It's the packages, the preservatives. And then there's not a bunch of other chemicals that would hold it even longer than a year. So those are things that we concentrate as we make different items. So we have a nut bar coming up, a oat bar coming up. We will hopefully be on an airline next to you some point is our goal, so that when you're traveling, you can see us. And then we have hot cocoa, and it's both like keto and normal hot cocoa, and that'll be our first product out of our facility that employs adults with autism.
Perfect. There's also there's a charitable tie to it, correct?
There is.
Can you tell me a little about that?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So we have BeeFree Bakes, which is a nonprofit, and the idea is that 80% of adults with autism, they're either or underemployed, meaning they've never had a job. So some of them that are working for us right now will come in for like one day for 3 hours, but they look forward to that 3 hours all week long. As we know, everybody is a happier, healthier human being when they have purpose in their life, even if that might not sound long to us, but for them to have that one day they have to be out and they get to earn their own paycheck. And so we're trying to expand that program, and we're at 3 now. Within the next 2 months, we should be at 8. And then, so 8 full-time positions might be 40 people that are working 3 hours, whatever. So we're hopeful that we can continue to expand that and expand products. We're branding our products so that you know as a consumer that we do provide jobs for people with autism. If every retailer or every company hired one person on the spectrum, there wouldn't be an issue. But right now it is an issue. And then we hope to expand that beyond just autism, but other issues that other reasons that we can help employ additional people.
Yeah. And I believe there's also a second charitable side to it as well on your website where you purchase, you're also providing a bag to a certain charity that is not, I can't remember the name of it right now. Can you tell me a little about that?
That's Fueled for School. So yes, that's it. Yes, that's it. Fueled for School. Yeah. So they're a local organization here in our community that provides food for food insecure families. So, and it's just such a thoughtful, everything they do is so thoughtful, in that, they don't, there's no negative impact whatsoever. They actually, when they send food home with the children, for the weekend, they put it in their backpack during recess. So no one really knows, who's getting that extra amount of food, and just really an amazing impact they're making in our community. And we're super happy to support them.
Yeah. And so it's for every bag that gets purchased on your website, another bag gets donated to that charity, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Awesome. It's always very interesting when there's some kind of tie to some charity or some kind of outside cause besides just we're here to make money and profit and all that fun stuff. And It's definitely a trend that I've started to see a lot of e-commerce sellers do. What made you, the autism one, obviously I understand that story on what drove you guys to make sure that you were doing that. What drove you to help with this other charity?
The director is a personal friend of mine. And so, number one, they needed support. They needed support from their community partners. And we have a food business, and that was one way that we could help support them. So, often that's our first offer of help is we might not be able to write you a check if you need cash for something, but as a company, but we can support you with food donations. And so, the fact that our food is convenient, most kids like it. They think it's a cookie, it's soft and chewy, and parents feel really good about their child eating it because it's nutrient dense. So it's just one additional way that we're a really good fit for Fuel for School.
Cool. You obviously, I'm just remembering now, you mentioned you're going into a larger product line, but isn't most of what you're selling right now is the Warrior Mix, correct?
That's correct. We have 5 flavors of Warrior Mix currently. So
you started in 2008, right? And Mike, we were graced with your presence in 2014. Why now have you decided to expand the product line into other consumables?
So, it's not just, we just added solid caramel, which is to our main line, and we will continue to add additional flavors so our current customers can have an opportunity. to try something different. Target, we're in Targets and they're a better for you section, and they requested a new flavor, and they suggested salted caramel or, a couple others. And so we started out with this, and then it's just the portion control. A lot of people eat our whole bag, when they go out. It's got a resealable top. It's really meant to be thrown in your briefcase, your car, golf bag, or your, baby bag, and you can eat a little bit. Well, they end up eating the whole thing. So can you make this in a smaller portion so don't eat the whole thing? And so the bar is convenient. It will help us be able to, we have a mini bar at 0.67 ounces. It's like basically 2 bites, and a full bar, which is about 4 bites. And so the mini bar, we really hope to get into on airplanes so that you can have a taste of those and then try to put them into a bigger bag for a sample bag. Did I cover that?
Yep. I think so. But I think one of the other things maybe to add to it is for the that hot cocoa mix, that we really pinpointed that product because it's a pretty easy entry type of a product to make, in that there's not a whole lot of equipment that's required. There aren't. And with the community of workers that we're going to be working with, and we don't have to worry about hot ovens, a lot of other things that, could potentially cause some danger and some injury. And so, this is just one way that we can bring a product to market, and we can not, incur a ton of additional equipment in order to do it and provide some jobs for some additional folks.
Nice. I know that you've surpassed 7 figures. You that's always seems to be that first initial hurdle. Well, it's really like the first 100,000, like getting up and going, maybe that 500, and then that 7-figure mark is where those tend to be relatively big hurdles. You have to start thinking a little bit differently. What would you say was some of the pivotal things thus far that was able to help you get over that hurdle?
It's just once you learn, you got to figure out the 3, stool. I always say it's a stool. It's a, cash, product, and sales. So you got to grow all 3 evenly, because if you sell a ton of product and you don't have the cash to produce it, or you can't find it. Mm-hmm. So the things you got to grow all 3 at the same time. And like you said, when you hit that first 100,000 mark, and then you hit the 100,000 a month mark, it helps. Once you figure out those hurdles, it's like the next 200,000 a month is not as hard as 100,000 a month.
Yeah.
And you make that, and then getting to that first 1 million sales annually is a challenge. I mean, it's a challenge. Anybody can do that. Is amazed. It's amazing. A whole lot of work went into it, but the next 1 million is not nearly as hard.
Yeah.
And I would add too some key retailers, that we've been able to partner with, have been a huge part of why we've been able to make some of those big jumps.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Are you doing so you mentioned you're in a ton of different retailers. I know you're in Amazon, you have your own site. Are you selling anywhere else online?
Yeah, we're on Target.com, Kroger.com,
Fair.com, GoPuff.com,
GoPuff.
Peapod, online, Peapod.com.
I'm sure I'm forgetting some also. Those are some that come to mind.
Right.
Website.
Sorry to any of you out there that I'm forgetting.
Website, Amazon, top ones right now, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
What's the next tier down for you guys?
Probably Fair.com, which is Fair, and Peapod are just coming online. Do you have another one you think that would be in that range?
There's a ton of opportunity with GoPuff for us right now, just because we have a brand that, is relevant to that kind of demographic and that type of shopper. So there's, a big awareness void for our brand that, if we pay attention to in the right ways, we can have some nice impact there.
Yeah. Fair is growing like a weed. I feel like I'm slowly starting to, as the more episodes I do, I'm starting to get more and more people start to mention that. So that one's obviously doing really well for you. Are you starting to see a lot of smaller retailers starting to pick it up also?
We are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're getting, we're starting to get, because we're relatively new with Fair.com, we're starting to get repeat business, which is always the goal. We don't want to sell it just once. We want our customers to stay with us for life and grow with us and, get their customers to grow with us as well.
Michael, Jennifer, really appreciated having you guys on the show. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know everyone's busy. But I would love to give you guys a minute. Please feel free to let everyone know where they can find out more about you guys and more about BeeFree.
Oh, of course. So BeeFreeGF.com is our website. And you can follow us on social, on Instagram at BeeFree Gluten-Free, on Facebook, BeeFreeGF, and soon on TikTok.
That's right.
Yes. Coming to TikTok.
And LinkedIn. Mike and I are on LinkedIn as well, too, with our names. So Jennifer Weesey and Michael Weesey on LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out. We love conversation and community. So
awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. Everyone who tuned in, of course, thank you as well. Please make sure you rate, review, subscribe on whichever podcast platform you prefer, YouTube, our YouTube channel, or at ecommshow.com. Per usual, though, thank you so much. We'll see you all next time and have a good one. See you then.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ecomm Show. Head over to ecommshow.com to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on the BlueTuskr YouTube channel. The Ecomm Show is brought to you by BlueTuskr, a full-service digital marketing company specifically for e-commerce sellers looking to accelerate their growth. Go to BlueTuskr.com now for more information. Make sure to tune in next week for another amazing episode of the Ecomm Show.